Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go!
All right, let's get started with installment 126. You see the Our Balls Are Bigger shirt over my shoulder. Kyrie Bear will join me this week to tee up our second season of the post-game show after every Rider game. Myself, Kyrie Bear, and as much as we can have him, Ryan Hall will join us. And we will be taking your telephone calls this year for the first time ever, like actual phone calls. Before we took video calls, people could nix their camera and just talk. But we'll make it easier and we will have phone calls. By the way, if you'd like a shirt, $25, just DM me at Michael Ball on at The Real Ballsy on X, at Ballsy Uncut on X, Michael Ball on Facebook, at The Real Ballsy on Instagram, and at Ballsy Uncut Facebook or Instagram. And I'll get you a shirt out. Or you could text or call me, 306-526-7979. $25. The proceeds going to the Love Life ALS Foundation. Glenn Love, former CFL linebacker, battling ALS. He's started a foundation. Help himself with medicine, but more so help people down the line and in the future. So we'll be turning over the money to him. And lots of great people have gotten on board to get the shirt. So once again, if you'd like one, just DM me or hit me up, 306-526-7979. Okay, so I want to, I guess we can call this a gospel according to Ballsy. I've got the 5 CFL moves that I believe are going to have the biggest impact. At number 5, Kenny Lawler, going from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to the Hamilton Tiger Cats for a couple of reasons. What's it going to do in Winnipeg with Zach Collaros? I know he has Dalton Schoen. I know they brought in Reggie White Jr. as a receiver. Like I said, they've got Schoen. They've got Myron Mitchell there. They've got Clarcius there, Canadian, Wheatfall. They've got Nick Dembski, of course. Who could forget Nick Dembski? So they still have a ton of weapons there in Winnipeg, but Kenny Lawler was a big-time weapon for the Blue Bombers. He left for a bit to Edmonton, came back to Winnipeg, and now leaves once again for bigger money in Hamilton to be another weapon for Bo Levi Mitchell. And Mitchell, he's got Drew Wolotarski, who also goes with Lawler over there. So that'll be another weapon, but I think Kenny Lawler could be a big-time target for Bo Levi Mitchell as he tries to prove everybody that last year was not a mirage and he was not on his downward cycle, got benched and then came up and had an MOP type of season. He's trying to prove everybody wrong, and Kenny Lawler will help that. So that is the 5th most impactful move, I think, that happened in the offseason that will show up in the regular season here. At number 4, I've got Gino Lewis and William Stanback going to Ottawa. Ottawa got rid of Rock Armstead, because of personality clash and just things weren't right in the room there. So he came to Regina and rushed for a ton of yards against the Stampeders, but was cut before training camp. So obviously there's something to that. I always said if you can't get along with Bob Dice or Craig Dickinson, you got some issues. So couldn't get along with Bob Dice. It was so bad in Ottawa, they decided to go with Braylon Addison, I believe, as their running back in a receiver, a slot/wide receiver as a running back in the East semifinal versus Toronto in that shootout the Red Blacks lost. So I think William Stanback, 1,000-yard rusher, runs north and south, makes you challenge him to tackle him. He's a bull in a china shop with some elusiveness. So that's going to help Drew Brown on the Ottawa offense. And then, of course, Gino Lewis, who I think he has scored a touchdown. Is it in 10 straight games? He's on a bit of a roll there coming over from Edmonton. Of course, he's got fuel added to his fire after Ed Hervey and him had a war of words in the offseason. So I think that will be the 4th biggest impactful move or moves in the CFL going into the season. Ottawa with Stanback and Gino Lewis. At number 3, I've got Vernon Adams and his leadership going to Calgary with the Stampeders and Dave Dickinson. Let's be honest, the Stamps have been like the New England Patriots of the Canadian Football League for a number of years. Actually, eerily similar. Patriots won more championships than the Stamps, but they were at the top for so long, except for the last couple of years. 2 years ago, the Riders soiled the sheets at the end of the year and gifted the 6-12 Stamps a playoff spot. They backed into the West semifinal, lost to Nathan Rourke and the BC Lions. Last year, the Stampeders, for the first time since Jesus was a carpenter, they missed the playoffs. So I would think there's a little heat on Dave Dickinson, the coach and GM, to get things turned around there in Calgary. They bring in Vernon Adams Jr., who was outstanding for the BC Lions till he got hurt, but showed a lot of character when they brought back Nathan Rourke, a lot of character and leadership. It was VA's team last year. He is well regarded by his teammates. By all accounts, the same thing in Calgary. They added Rhymes. They have Beggleton still there, Jalen Philpott, so some weapons for him to use. Dedrick Mills in the backfield. I think this will be a big year for Vernon Adams Jr. I don't know if it'll translate into a playoff spot, but Vernon Adams has always had talent to do it. But he's never really stuck as a starting quarterback anywhere. Not in BC, not in Montreal, cut his teeth with Saskatchewan. Now he's in Calgary. Opportunity for Vernon Adams Jr. to take the reins with the Stampeders, pardon the pun, and lead the Horsemen back to greatness. So that will be, I think, the third most impactful move this offseason. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Number 2, Nathan Rourke, Buck Pierce combo. Nothing against Jordan Maksimic, but there's something when you're working with a guy who is your head coach and your OC that played the position at a high level like Buck Pierce. And Buck Pierce comes from a well-run organization, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and he gets his first crack as a head coach. Now, it could be a learning curve. I'm often skeptical when a guy who is starting out, whether it be a Corey Mace as a DC and a head coach, although he got his team to a home playoff game and got to the West Final, Mace I'm talking about, but I'm always skeptical when a first-time coach also is a coordinator. Can be a lot, and you run a risk as a guy who alienates the other half of his team. Like if you're the offensive coordinator, if you have a great day on offense, do you really care if it was a bad day on defense? Like you should, and I'm assuming you do, but you're focused on the offense. Or if you have a bad day on offense, do you go and praise the defense? Do you make it so you go praise the defense, even though you're the head coach OC, or do you shit all over the offense and don't really praise the defense? So there's a fine line you got to walk there. But I think it's going to be great for Nathan Rourke to work in concert with Buck Pierce. And I'm interested to see which Nathan Rourke we see. Do we see the guy who is the shooting star in 2022 and almost had the BC Lions go on a magical run to the Grey Cup, losing in Winnipeg, as many teams do? Or is it the guy who came back with the NFL hangover, felt out of place? The locker room was fractured, let's be honest, because everybody bought into VA being his team, but Nathan Rourke comes back, makes the big dough more than anybody. Not saying that he shouldn't, but he comes back, and we'll see now how it goes. Rourke in the offseason, by all accounts, has been a leader, both with the receivers, but in the community, and really embracing being the face of the franchise. So I think Nathan Rourke is going to be closer, for what it's worth, to the 2022 version as opposed to the guy last season that, had the NFL hangover, had all those playbooks in his head from the NFL, and came to a team that was already buying into what VA was selling right from the offseason. So I'll say that's the second biggest thing to keep an eye on in terms of impact going into the season. And the number one move, impactfully, I think that's a word, for the 2025 CFL season isn't a guy that coaches, isn't a guy that plays. It's a guy that is the face of the franchise. We've had him on the show, Chris Morris. Former player with the Eskimos. He knows what it means to have that Eskimo pride. I know it's the Elks. I personally think they should go back to the Eskimos, but I'm a 52-year-old white man, so what do I know? I don't think there was that much furor over the name. Could be wrong, but they're staying with the Elks. But they got the double E, and they got the guy that knows what it means to bring Eskimo winning and pride back to that community, which is what they need. It used to be a football town. It is a total hockey town, not with the Edmonton Oilers. They used to run neck and neck, Oilers and the Eskimos. Not anymore. It's the Oilers, and then somewhere down here are the Elks. I think they'll get it back. I like Mark Killam, Ed Hervey, rough around the edges like yours truly. So I don't have a problem with Ed Hervey. And Ed Hervey was the GM the last time they won the Grey Cup back in 2015, the last time they had any relevance in Edmonton. So great move by Chris Morris bringing in Ed Hervey, standing behind his GM, even though Ed, according to the media, put his foot in his mouth in the offseason with regards to there are no stars in the league. That's not what he meant. But he's not here to apologize to guys like me and you. He's here to run a football team. So Chris Morris coming in there, bringing that attitude, that Edmonton, Northern Alberta attitude. Everywhere he's gone, high school, Golden Bears, he's turned things around. He's a leader of men from what I can gather. And as a parent who went with his son on the first recruiting trip, it was at the U of A, and Chris Morris and his staff were buttoned up. They were great. We didn't choose Edmonton, but it had nothing to do with Chris Morris at all. So they got the right guy. And further proof, Dwayne Mandrusiak was jettisoned by that team. The guy who was the equipment guy and the nuts and bolts behind the scenes guy for 49 years, Chris Morris brings back Dwayne Mandrusiak. Not just it was a goodwill gesture, but he brings him back. This guy has so much still to offer. I think he's got Parkinson's. He's back. One of my highlights was he was, I forgot the award he won, but it was like a prestigious award here at the 2022 Grey Cup, and well deserving on the stage. And then he's punted down the road by the Edmonton football team. You know, some of these organizations, they take people that are passionate, that care about things, and they really don't give a shit about them. They just kick them down the road. So kudos to Chris Morris for bringing back Dwayne Mandrusiak. That's further proof that he's locking it in and trying to get back to the roots. So to me, that is the most impactful move in the offseason and the number one thing to watch. I got the Elks making it to the playoffs. Mark Killam has to get his team to the playoffs. They spent a lot of money. That team is a shell of itself in the stands. They were starting to come back towards the end of the year as they started slow, but they haven't won in Edmonton in forever. You used to go into Edmonton and know it was going to be a guaranteed loss. If you won a regular season game in Edmonton, you were high-fiving, and I know that as a Rider fan. Riders were shitty for a lot of the 80s, and I remember one time Homer Jordan was the quarterback, threw for like 428 yards, and the Riders beat Edmonton with Jack Gotta as the coach, or Jack Goda. No, it was Jack Gotta. Jack's gotta go, that's what it was. Anyways, Jack goes in there with Homer Jordan. They win. The Riders were crappy that year, but I'll never forget winning that game and being so excited as like a 12-year-old boy that the Riders beat the vaunted Edmonton Eskimos. The Elks need to get back to that with a double E, wear it with pride, get the fans back. I believe it is a football town, but the key is to win. You gotta win. So I'm hoping they do, because the league is better when the Edmonton football team is strong. And we need those Calgary and Edmonton franchises to get back to some strength. This league needs those franchises strong. All right. That's the gospel according to Ballsy. That's how I see it. Chris Morris, number one, impactful thing to watch. Number two, Nathan Rourke and Buck Pierce combo. Number three, Vernon Adams Jr. in Calgary with his leadership. Number four, Gino Lewis and William Stanback with the Ottawa Redblacks. And number five, Kenny Lawler. Kenny, don't call me the King Jerry Lawler with Bo Levi Mitchell. You are watching and listening to Ballsy Uncut. Okay, so Tim, I was a broadcaster in mainstream media for like almost 30 years. So this is new for me, and it's kind of a part-time gig. So like I sell cars at a local dealership here in Regina, Crestview Chrysler, and I get Sundays and Tuesdays off. So what happens is I try to jam all these interviews in, and then my significant other has a honey-do list. So that's where I'm going to start. When you have time off and you get your honey-do list, what is like, are there things on the honey-do list you don't like doing?
No, you know what? My wife does just about everything inside the house. I'm in charge of everything outside the house. So this past weekend, it was picking weeds. It was I rented a stump grinder to take out some stumps in the yard. I love working out in the yard. So that's usually, if you're looking for me, that's usually where I'm at.
Me too, man. It's therapeutic for me too. Absolutely. I love cutting grass. I love weeding. It's all good. Hey, you're in St. Louis, right?
Correct.
Didn't you guys just have some tornadoes roll through there?
We did literally right through the city. Actually, it hit a lot of people. Usually, we hear the tornado sirens go off, and it's usually north of the city or south of St. Louis. This one ripped right through the middle of it. And unfortunately, 5 people lost their lives. Millions of dollars in property damage. It was a bad one. We didn't get it that bad where we lived, just a lot of high winds and rain and hail and so on. But yeah, it's tornado season here in the Midwest, and it can get pretty bad.
Yeah. Hey, Tim, can Carolina make a series? Speaking of, they've got a natural disaster name. Not trying to make light of what happened in St. Louis, but can the Hurricanes make a series of this now?
I hope so. You know what? I'm rooting for Florida because of my relationship with the Tkachuk family. But you know what? Rod Brindamore is such a good man, and he's such a good coach. And they were they were taking a lot of heat the last week or so because of their record in conference finals. I think it was 0-12 or something like that coming into the last couple games, where they had been swept 2 or 3 years in a row. So a lot of good guys on that team. Brent Burns, I'm a big fan of his, and the Stahl, Mark Stahl. Is it Mark Stahl? Yeah,
Jordan,
Mark Stahl.
Jordan
Stahl.
Yeah.
Jordan Stahl, and just good people, and Rod, like I said, is such a good person, and that organization, the fans. So I'm hoping that I would like to see it at least go 6. I think it's good for hockey, and it might be good for the Edmonton Oilers too if they go on to win this series, because you don't want Florida finishing this in 5 games and having a lot of time to rest in South Florida and heal up a lot of injuries that Florida's dealing with right now.
Tim, when you're on the ice and you're in a game that involves Brad Marchand, Corey Perry, Evander Kane, three of the same style of player, how do you approach it like that? Like, because I'm an Oiler fan. I watch the game. I get invested. I sometimes take my media hat off and just, I'm mother effing the refs. I'm mother effing, I'm pissed off. Like, how can't you call that? Kane just got ran into the net, but at the same time, Perry and Kane and Brad, they do their things too. So how do you approach it mentally? Like, do you sometimes say, well, if this was, let's pick a guy. If this was Jason Robertson, I'd probably make that call. But it's Evander Kane. You know what? If you play with the rusty nail, sometimes you get it.
Yeah, no, and that's a great expression, actually. And you reap what you sow. Corey Perry, first of all 3 of those guys, I absolutely loved them when I ref them. I got along with all 3. Evander and I are friends now after I've retired. Marchand was one of my favorite guys to ref, and Corey Perry, I have a lot of respect for him. Corey made a living, as you know, accidentally falling on the goalie all the time.
Yeah.
And he was the best. He's one of the best at it. He's always there on top of the crease and around the goalie. So there were times where maybe he did get pushed in, but it was the 3rd time. You've warned him once or twice during the game. And unfortunately, he may not get the benefit of the doubt that maybe Leon Draisaitl might get if he falls on the goaltender, and it's because of we don't referee on reputation, but you need to know as a referee, you need to know the tendencies of a player. What are his tendencies? He goes down early. He embellishes. He slashes a lot. Like good referees will know the tendencies of just about every player in the league, and so you know what? Kudos to first of all Corey Perry for playing like he is at age 40. It's tremendous. Kudos to Evander Kane. I've been texting him. 2 days ago he played like a stud on Saturday. I thought he played or Sunday. Sunday. I thought he played phenomenal. Even though he didn't score, he had a great game. Coming back from having that surgery in his pubic area, some sort of hernia that it completely debilitated him from being able to skate last year in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and it pained me for him that he wasn't able to really play to the level that Edmonton knows that he can. And then Brad Marchand, there's a guy that played his entire career in Boston. The Florida Panthers probably hated him. Tkachuk probably hated him, couldn't stand him, and now they're best buddies. And he's a hockey guy, and even though you may, as a fan, dislike him, man, every player in the NHL would love to have him as a teammate, and he's fit in perfectly with the Panthers.
This is a question I'm glad I got here because I can ask you this. I can't answer it. A lot of people can't listening and watching this. So along the same lines, my favorite coach is Paul Maurice. I just like how he handles the media. I like him on the bench. I like how he, pardon the expression, he's nice to them, or he motherfucks his team sometimes. Okay. But as a referee, when he's yelling at you at the bench, does it become kind of elevator music after a while? You know what I mean? Like Michael Bolton, when you get on an elevator, it's Michael Bolton. You don't know the song. Yeah, I hear you, but I'm not really listening. As opposed to Chris Knobloch, who's on the Oilers bench and looks very stoic, whether they're winning, whether they're losing, whether it's a puck out of play over the glass, whether it's a high stick that shouldn't have been called. You know what I mean? Like, you're in a locker room, a guy barely says anything, and then when he says something, you listen. Are you more, because you're human as a ref, are you more adept to pay a little more attention or take a little more credence when Chris Knobloch calls you over as opposed to Paul Maurice and some of those guys, Tortorella, who are always yapping?
Yeah, no. That's a very valid point. And, I'd always tell guys, hey, if Barry Trotz is yelling at me, then there's probably a good chance that we screwed up a call and we missed something, because Trotzy was such a pro and respected us. But quite honestly, it may look like that with Paul on TV, but when I was in the league, Paul hardly said anything to me. And if Paul said something, it was probably justified. So, but it's a very valid point. If you have a coach that they're constantly whining and complaining, Bruce Cassidy was kind of that guy. He would whine and complain a lot, and you tune it out. And then, like to your point, if a Chris Knobloch says something, then you're like, okay, you know what? First of all, I'm going to come over and talk to you because I respect that you don't. It's not this verbal diarrhea all the time, and that old expression, cry wolf. So to your point, 100% that plays into it.
Okay, so two more quick questions for you. I appreciate you giving me time. And hey, if you want to check out a great podcast, you check out Tim's podcast along with my buddy Jeremy Roenick. Well, they're both my friends. It's Snipes and Stripes podcast, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, okay. Snipes and Stripes.
Okay, so take me here now. Kulak shoots the puck over the glass. Refs meet. Then Kapanen high sticks Rantanen, but it's Rantanen's stick that hits him in the face, not Kapanen's stick. What does that look like when you guys all come together and talk it out? Like, what it's like, hey, did you see something? Did you see something? Okay, we didn't see it. We just have to let it go.
Yeah, you know what? First of all, the puck over the glass, I was a little surprised that they didn't call it, because that is one penalty that they can review now. They changed it where they can review that. That is it's so easy sitting at home with a Molson Canadian or a Coors Light in your hand, watching it from the sofa, watching the replay 3 or 4 times. Kulak shot it. It went by the stick of whoever was standing there. It's a tough call to make. And I that's one I think they wish they had got back. As far as the high sticking penalty, man, that happens so quick. It happens so quick. And the only saving grace, the only way that they could have avoided that, or the outcome could have been a little bit better, is if the it was Kapanen got called for high sticking, correct? Is if the geez, I lost my train of thought. If the Dallas player had been cut,
Rantanen, yeah,
and if Rantanen had been cut, they could have called a double minor. Then they go and review it. Then they find out Kapanen's stick actually got himself. They could have taken it off the board, but because they only called a 2-minute minor, they don't review a 2-minute minor. So it was bad luck. The biggest thing that I came away with from my time in the NHL is you can't guess, and if you guess, you're usually guessing wrong. You can't guess on a high stick. The league would rather you miss a high stick than call a high stick that was, in this case, the wrong player. It was his own player's stick.
So lastly, I'm not going to sit here and say that that I haven't been hard on officials. We need officials or we don't have games. But I'm passionate. I'm watching my team. I see something like that, I get mad, okay? And I'm at the risk of sounding like old man yells at clouds, or as we were talking to start this interview, get the hell off my lawn, old guy. I would be okay if they just got rid of instant replay altogether. I would be okay with that. Even if I get mad at the refs, it's the same for both teams. But as a guy that's been there, like you said, Ballsy sitting on his couch, eating his nachos, drinking his Diet Pepsi, saying, what the hell is Tim Peel looking at? This guy, why is this guy still reffing? Yet the game moves at such a breakneck speed. But do you like instant replay? Is it good for the refs or is it bad for the refs? Because like you said, I can watch it 4 ways from Sunday in slow motion. You got to see it like that. Yeah.
No, and that's a great question. I think the world we live in now, Michael, with social media, a mistake is made on the ice. It's on Twitter. It's on every social media platform within seconds. And I think the league has done a really good job of I don't think we need any more replay. I think we're good where we're at. But to give you an example, and it has happened with every referee in the NHL, we have all called, for example, the Kapanen play. Every ref in the NHL over his career has called a penalty for high sticking, players cut. You give them 4 minutes. Before we were able to review that, all of a sudden now the coach calls you over, says, Timmy, it was his own guy. We can't change the call. It's a double minor. That whole 4 minutes that that team is on the penalty kill, you were praying as a ref that 4 minutes that they kill off that double minor and they don't get scored upon, because then you're becoming impactful on the game, and we don't want to be put in that position. Same thing with goalie interference. I think we're at a really good place with replay. Unfortunately, the genie's out of the bottle now. You can't put it back. They're not going to get rid of it, especially with offsides. I think it's awful when a play is literally a quarter of an inch offside. And we're going to see it one year in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals in overtime, and they're going to score, and they're going to empty the bench, and they're going to be wheeling Phil Pritchard's going to be wearing the white gloves, bringing the Stanley Cup out, and they're going to go, hold on, we need to review this, and it's offside, and everybody's go back to I think it will happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would be terrible because that's not what we brought offside challenges in for. We brought it in for when it was egregious, like the one it got instituted because of Derek Amell, who was a great linesman in the NHL, worked 10 or 11 Stanley Cup finals. He missed that call in Colorado with Nashville and Colorado, and it was 4 feet offside.
Yeah.
And that's when they instituted it. It should be for egregious plays, but now that we're using it, they're never going to get rid of it.
And it's funny when you say that, because automatically I think of when the whole playoffs, they called the foot in the crease, foot in the crease, foot in the crease, and Brett Hull scores the game-winning goal in Buffalo, foot in the crease. And
Yep.
good luck having Gary Bettman get that, trying to tear that Stanley Cup away from Darian Hatcher. He would have pounded him into the ice like a corkscrew. So I was like, no, just give him the cup, get off the ice, nothing to see here. Let's go. Hey, lastly, I call him he's pot of gold puck stopper. It's Stu Skinner. Like, you'll reach into the pot of gold and you'll grab a chocolate. Ooh, it tastes pretty good. Ooh, it tastes pretty good. Oh, that tastes like shit. Oh, I don't like that one either. And then, you know what I mean? It depends. But if the Oilers just get 900 goaltending, they are almost unbeatable. Can Stuart Skinner keep this up to get them to the place where Connor and Leon deserve to go?
You know what? I sure hope so, because first of all, I loved Stuart Skinner's interview the other day, and he basically said, "Hey, this is a hockey game. He's a family man. He's got kids." It kind of resonated with me because we all kind of take this a little too serious sometimes because it is just a sport. I'm hoping for his sake that he can keep it going. But you're right, it's feast or famine right now with Stuart Skinner. But he seems to be on a roll, and I hope he can continue it, because to your point, and I've said this for the past few days, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl deserve to win a Stanley Cup. I would love to see that organization. They've got such a phenomenal fan base there, great ownership with the Katz family, and Connor McDavid deserves to. He's the face of the NHL. He's the best player in the world, and him and Leon deserve a Stanley Cup. And I'm hoping that they can do it this year. And I think it'll be Florida. Edmonton just looks solid. I think with a healthy Kane, Adam Henrique, Corey Perry, their depth players this year, I think, are having more of an impact than they did last year's playoffs. And with Ekholm coming back tonight, or maybe they don't play him, I don't know what they're going to do there, whether they're going to take Stetcher out. But it's been working with Stetcher in, and give him a lot of credit. I think he's 31 years old, and he's played very well for them. So I can't wait to watch it tonight. It's going to be a great game. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Dallas won. It wouldn't surprise me if Edmonton won. The only thing that I worry about if I'm an Edmonton player or fan is it's 2-1 right now, and Mikko Rantanen has been very quiet in this series. And he's a guy that if he gets on fire, he can win a game, as we saw in the previous series against Colorado all by himself. So should be a lot of fun.
Hey, man, thanks for your time. I always appreciate it.
No problem, Michael. Anytime, buddy.
Okay, so my friend is Mike Edam, okay? He coached my son at Calgary, longtime CFLer. For years, he went by Edam, and then he corrected it and said Edam. It was Metchie, and now it's Metchie. Is that correct?
Metchie.
Metchie? Okay.
Metchie,
So,
yeah.
Okay, so help me out here, and that's great to get the right pronunciation. I asked Adam the same thing. Why didn't you guys say something at the start? Or did you just say like, I don't want to correct anybody. Let's let them call me what they're going to call me.
Well, the funny thing is, I tried at first. Like when we first came here, I tried, but my brothers and I, we just came to notice like everyone when we meet new people, even like teachers, they'd always it was just like kind of automatic. They would read it as Metchie. So we're just like, honestly, yeah. At least you say that, you know how it's spelled. Cool. You know who I am. But so we just never really. It's our fault. It's our fault.
Oh, it's okay. I'm not critiquing you. I just wondered because we called Edom, and then one day he said, well, it's actually Edom. I'm like, well, tell me it's Edom because I want to get it correct, man. Everybody deserves to be called by their correct name. You have made a name for yourself, my friend. How have you found bringing that Grey Cup cachet and all that experience to Edmonton? How's this training camp, I guess, lined up with the other ones you've had in other stops?
This one's been good. This one's actually been really good. It's been a little different, but not a lot because there's a lot of new parts, especially for me because I'm in a new environment, right? But we got a new head coach, from the top to bottom. There's a lot of like new pieces in the city, right? So I say it's good just because it's like considering so much new parts, like how well things are going, how like guys are kind of coming together, like we all come in together, we all understand our collective goal here. And even like the young guys, the vets, the coaches, the management, everyone is approaching it, I think, with the right attitude and mindset. I think that's what sets it off well.
Besides being a 28-year-old stud and what you bring in the field, what do you think you bring to this locker room that can help turn this once proud franchise to where they were again? Because when you walk down the hallways there, you see the Warren Moons and all those, even Chris Morris, they won championships. We got to get – the league is better when Edmonton's better. So what can you bring to the table to make it better?
I think my experience, but off the table, like off of like outside of football, outside of everything like I bring to the field, I think character. I think if you want to be a championship team, it starts like before that championship game, right? It starts with the things you do every day. It starts with things we do today. You know what I mean? Like the little things, what we do right now when practice is over, all these little things, like it's all going to stack up. And I think thankfully with my experience, the vets that I've been surrounded by and all the guys I got to play with, that's one thing I take away. It's how they approach the whole year, like how they approach the beginning of the season to set themselves up for the mid-season, to set themselves, and the team up for going into the postseason. I think all of that is a crucial part in which I think I can help bring to the team.
I have a son going through this, and he's injured, so he was the last preseason game versus the Riders. He's with the Bombers. He said, I just soaked it in. I didn't have to get stressed. I could watch how the Cramdies and all these guys get ready for the game. Who for you, a young Royce Metchie, when you're in Calgary or maybe along the way, who did you look up to or watch or help you become the pro that you are? When it came to watching, I tried to just watch as much as I could. Like I would watch like almost anyone and everyone just so I could digest as much football as quickly as I could. But guys that actually helped me out a lot were kind of like the vets I had in my room, including like Jamar Wall, Brandon Smith. We had Chop, we had Ciante Evans. We had a lot of good vets in there, which kind of helped me pick the game up faster. They helped me understand like a lot of little things. But yeah, I'd say my top two are definitely Jay Wall and Smitty. So what do you got to do to take you're always looking to get better. If you're not looking to get better, you're stagnant, then you're dead. What are you looking to do in your game to take it to the next level?
Try to get the ball out more. Right? Yeah. Just try to get the ball. We can't win games if we don't get the ball, right? And there was a funny stat that they told us. It was like when the defense gets, I think, 3 turnovers or something, it increases the chances of winning. I think it's 3 turnovers and a touchdown. It increases the chances of the team winning by, I think it's like 80% or something high, something good. Yeah. And I was like, I like that number. 3 seems like a good, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's a good number to aim for every game.
Hey, is 9 a special number for you?
Yeah. Yeah, in a way it is. It's my mom's favorite number. It's my dad's favorite number. I'm born in September. That's the 9th month, It's also a number that represents like, I don't know, I guess numerology, like, it's the closest thing to perfection, but it just reminds you of the chase of perfection. Consistency, I guess.
What's it like to win championships? Is there one championship that's more special to you than the other?
They've all been very special. I think this last one, this most previous one, was the most special so far. Just it was the most previous one, but also like I was able to get like a lot more of my family there, and so that was very special. It was in BC. When we first moved to Canada, the first place like I visited in Canada was BC, so it was like a lot of things aligned well for me in this last one.
Yeah, it's talk about the mindset of leaving a championship team where you've left your mark to come to Edmonton. Like, why was Edmonton so enticing to come this way, other than maybe a payday? Because let's be honest, you can say money's not a big thing because it is, especially in the CFL. I always joke CFL stands for cash flow low, so you got to get the cash when you can, Royce. But other than the money, why come to Edmonton?
Truthfully, it was because like I feel like there's something special being built here, and you know how like in life there's just like certain things have its own time, right? Where it's like when the time just aligns, when the time is right, you know, the right things kind of fall in the right places. Edmonton feels like the place where it's about time, you know, and not just that, like what they're building here. Like I've had Coach Killam as a coach before, so I was familiar with him. I've had D-Max as a coach. I've played with a couple guys that came to Edmonton also, and I think it's just I'm a very religious person, so you know I'm you know a lot of me is rooted in faith, and I feel like this is just kind of my path in which God wants me to be on at this point in my life, especially this stage of my career. Right, I've you know been very fortunate to play as long as I have. And so I think this stage of my career, you know, Edmonton is exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, that's a good.
And so far, so far it's been great.
Yeah. I'm deeply rooted in faith. I was born in September. I knew I liked you for a reason. I knew it kind of clicked for a reason. Talk about Killam for a second, though, bro. He's the guy that's been around for a long time. Have you noticed a difference between Mark Killam, a special teams coach, and a longtime assistant to Mark Killam, the head coach? And if so, how have you noticed a difference?
Well, I'd say yes and no. I say yes, there's a difference because now he bears like the responsibility of being the head coach. But I'd say no because in my time in knowing him, even when we were in Calgary and he was a special teams coach and assistant, I think head coach, he'd always approach everything how I thought a head coach should. You know, like his preparation, his attention to detail, his care for players on and off the field, you know, his passion to want to coach players and, you know, coach position, coach schemes. I don't know, like for me, I think that's a relationship, like one positive about, you know, my relationship with him is that I think I've always experienced that from him. And it's one which, if you ask a lot of people that have played for him, a lot of people would love to play for him again and rally behind that because just genuinely he is a good leader.
Hey, so you're always, when you're in pro sports, there's always pressure, okay? You're playing a kid's game, you're getting paid for it, it's a business, you gotta win. But is there a little more pressure in Edmonton this year in the sense that they brought in guys like yourself, Ford, those kind of players, and they can't win on home turf? You used to go, listen, before you were even a thought, my friend, I was watching Rough Rider football. I said this earlier on the show. I was watching Rough Rider football, and if my team went into Edmonton and won a game, it was like we won the Grey Cup. Now it's like teams can come in and win. And so I'm just wondering, is there a little more pressure this year to get things turned around? Because that's an Oilers town, and it used to be an Oilers then Eskimos town, and I'm wondering if we can get back to that again. Is there a little more pressure that way to win?
I agree with you. That's definitely our goal, to bringing Edmonton back to that state. We're trying to get back to there. In fact, we're actually trying to, you know, create something new and just make this our own kind of over here. A big thing that is emphasized here is kind of like that brotherhood. And it's like past and present, you know, Eskimos, they all have a sense of pride about this city. And you can even see, even like the people here, they have that pride for this city and stuff. And so we want to be able to do them justice. And so I wouldn't say that there's pressure in a sense, because that's kind of our goal, you know?
Yeah.
So, and it's not, I think it's only pressure when, I don't know, when like, I guess, yeah, you could say things are at stake, but I don't know. I don't see it as pressure when you're having fun trying to do something, right? Like that's my goal. And I know I'm gonna have fun doing it. I know the guys around me are gonna have fun doing it. So I think, as long as we have fun, we do what we're supposed to do, and we dot our I's, cross our T's, and just go out and play ball, I think we're gonna do okay.
Let's end on a fun one. You're at training camp. Have you ever actually camped? Are you a camper? Did you go camp?
Yeah, I love camping.
Yeah?
I love camping, yeah.
Now, are you a glamper or are you a camper? Meaning, do you go in a tent or do you go in a camper?
Oh, no, I'm a camper.
Okay.
I like to camp, yeah. I'll glamp too, don't get me wrong, but I do like camping. I do. Yeah. I haven't been camping in a while. Last time I went camping was maybe sometime in high school with some friends.
Oh, yeah?
It's kind of cool, yeah.
I'm not a camper. I'm a glamper because whenever I set my kids loved to camp back in the day, and I got fed up and went and slept in the van because that one bird at 4 a.m. is always open my tent. It's damn cold at night. There's bugs. It's like, no, I don't. I'm kind of here's what I always said about camping, Royce. I said, why would you work for 48 weeks out of the year to act like you're homeless for 4 weeks out of the year? You know what I mean?
Hey, that's a good point. That's a great point. I guess when you look at it like that, that's a great point.
Hey, man, before we wrap up, one more time for me. How do I say that last name so I can pronounce it correctly from here on out?
Metchie.
Metchie. Okay, good, man.
It's like awesome. Deep E's, and then you roll the TCHIE all together.
Royce Metchie. Awesome, man. I hope to, except for when you're playing the Blue Bombers.
Especially when we're playing the Bull Bombers.
You know what? Except for when you're playing the Bombers, I'll be cheering for you. Okay, buddy?
Thank you very much. All right.
Take care.
Have a good one.